Hello and welcome. Today, let's talk human rights. I'm Preeti Prakash and you're on Nation Talks. Now, to just give you some idea about our rights as a citizen and as an individual, it's imperative to know about them. Our constitution guarantees us rights as citizen of the country, which we all call as fundamental rights. This is within the ambit of the relationship with our country state. The other kind of rights are as individuals: right to life, liberty, dignity. So, for example, if a Pelu Khan is beaten black and blue for storing something in his kitchen, it's human rights. Or say a child molested is human rights. Similarly, a rape is a human right. Something that hurts one's life or dignity. Or in a broader context, war crimes or refugee crisis falls in the category of human rights. And to oversee these, there is an organization called National Human Rights Commission, which works for the protection of human rights. At the state level, there is a State Human Rights Commission. And at the international level, there is the UNHRC. There's also a Commonwealth Human Rights Initiative. To tell us about all this and more, I have with me today Dr. DM Mulay, who's member National Human Rights Commission. He needs no introduction. He's been from the Diplomatic Corps, has been ambassador to Maldives and Consul General of India in New York. He served in Syria as well. He's a prolific writer and a linguist and is founder director of an organization working for rescuing Indians stranded overseas. He is the passport man of India. Let's hear from him firsthand about NHRC. A very, very warm welcome to you, Dr. Mulay.
Thank you. Thank you. I look forward to this very interesting interaction.
So let me start by asking you, Dr. Mulay, India ranks 77 in 140 countries in Human Rights Index as per the Rule of Law World Justice Project 2022. What explains that?
Well, World Justice Project, you might be knowing, is a private organization. It's a civil society organization, which has barely interacted with NHRC, for example. So I'll not go into their ranking. What I would like to do in this conversation is put in perspective what NHRC does, how it protects human rights. For example, you will be perhaps shocked to know that NHRC is the largest human rights organization by any government anywhere in the world. We have got about 450 people working on human rights issues. And earlier you said rape is a human right. No, rape is a human rights violations issue. Molestation is a human rights violation issue. So that apart, what I wanted to say that we are very much connected to UNHCR. There is an organization called GANRI, which is a kind of a organization, association of all human rights institutions in the world, of which India is a category member, which means our accreditation currently is A. There are A, B, C. So we are seen, and we are also working on various bodies as NHRC. Government, of course, has its own interaction with other countries and UNHRC. But we do have very strong interaction with international community. What is important is perhaps we need to do more marketing about our work for the international community and including organizations like WPJ to understand the volume of work that NHRC is doing. So, for example, we handle about 120,000, that is 120,000 human rights violations cases every year. I don't think anywhere in the world anybody does that. We also are able to provide some kind of relief compensation or able to resolve human rights cases around 80,000 a year. This is again not a small number considering we are such a huge country. Also, most countries do not have human rights government-supported human rights commissions at state level. India has over 25 state human rights commissions who do their own work in their own jurisdiction. NHRC has a national jurisdiction, while the state human rights commissions have jurisdiction over that particular state. So it's important to for everyone in India and overseas countries to know that we have a huge, establishment that looks after the violations and tries to tackle them or establish accountability wherever it's required. So I hope that broadly answers your question, because I do
But
not wish
does
to.
but does that answer the about on the issue of ranking of our?
Who knows? We don't get to see the criterion. We are not part of the process of consultation. We're not asked for any information. And even if they actually look at our portal and the information given, that they will be shocked. In my view, they do not have even perhaps, I'm not saying definitively, but perhaps they do not have the expertise to analyze the kind of complexity that we live within India. So, it's important. We should not blindly follow international indices. And it's not only true about human rights indexation, it's also true about many other indexations.
Okay. Tell us about a little about the way NHRC functions and its role, that affects people's lives as such, that it relates, how does it affect?
Sure. I think NHRC should make itself known better. I really would like to emphasize that point. This organization was created in 1993, National Human Rights Commissions, through a special act of Parliament. This actually follows our commitment with the human rights, protection that we have given to the international community. We are also signatories to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. The PHR Act, that is Protection of Human Rights Act of 1993, basically empowers NHRC to look at any violations of individuals' right to life, liberty, equality, and dignity. These are the four main pillars of NHRC's work, which are also the pillars of UDHR. Now, even though these are only four, they encompass almost all aspects of life. They encompass individuals' right to food, right to shelter, because you have fundamental rights. You also have number of rights given to the citizens by the statutes and legislations. Say, right to employment is there, right to food, right to shelter, right to work, and several other rights. Then there are schemes to protect vulnerable groups. They could be sex workers, they could be old age persons, they could be persons with disabilities, persons belonging to scheduled caste and scheduled tribes, children of workers on the brick kilns, silicoses. There are a number of schemes of state government. So NHRC also is duty bound to monitor any violations that take place in these areas. NHRC looks after. You'll be again surprised if I tell you that every police custody death or a judicial custody death has to be reported to NHRC by every authority concerned, police authority, within 48 hours. And NHRC goes through the report, and NHRC has a format whereby about 14 to 16 different types of information are sought, which is about spot inquiry, which is about viscera report, medical report, first primary health report when the person entered jail or police custody, and judicial magistrate inquiry is made in every single custodial death in the country. And then we see and try and establish the accountability if authorities have either exceeded or underperformed while discharging their duties, and accordingly we recommend punishment. And we also give the victim compensation. In case of, say, for example, if it is a torture case, we pay 7.5 lakh rupees. We recommend 7.5 lakh rupees compensation. There are different, if it is a simple death by, say, just a death, natural death also, but there is a space for suspicion. Even then we recommend certain compensation because we think that the cause of death is not clearly indicated, the medical report is not completed, or it's taken 2 years, 3 years, that kind of a thing. And every year, several crores worth of compensation is given by NHRC to the victims. I'm also very happy to state that NHRC's recommendations are implemented almost over 95% by the states. This is a very fascinating record. The state governments do not say your role is only recommendatory and you have no mandate. Most of them don't say it. In very rare cases, if they decide not to follow our orders, they have to go to the court, because through case laws, it has been established now that NHRC's recommendations are almost mandatory. There is a legal validity given by courts now, both at a high court level as well as Supreme Court level. I don't have the case names on my tongue right now, but that is the situation. So in a sense, even though we are a recommendatory authority, our directions are mandatory for implementation. You'd also be perhaps you'd like to know that many of our notices are issued to the central government, including Ministry of Home Affairs, which is a kind of our ministry that provides us our grants through their budget. So and all of our recommendations are against government wherever they are there. So in a sense, we are the watchdog, and as per the law, the protection of human rights is the responsibility of the state. So if there is faltering, if there are atrocities, if there is a human right violation, state is directly or indirectly responsible.
Okay. Now, you just mentioned some figures of your cases in the earlier answer. My question to you is, as per NHRC website, it received 97,788 cases in 22-23, out of which it states that only 6,402 were disposed, whereas 11,753 are still under consideration. Isn't that a huge pendency?
No. 6,000 is a wrong figure. There must be something.
Yeah,
It can't be that, we, as I said, on an average, we receive 120. Sometimes it could be 1.10 lakhs. Sometimes it could be more. But 85,000 is the disposal, and about 120,000 is the average number of complaints we get.
Okay. So maybe you got to update your website.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good that you mentioned. I'll check again if, but unlikely that such a figure would be there.
Okay, so and now even your vision statements, the website says, your vision statement says that the commission is responsible for spreading awareness and HR literacy. How are you working in that direction?
Yeah, we have a number of ways in which we try and spread. One way is we have throughout the year in the commission, we conduct internships for students who are interested in pursuing their career or are already pursuing career in human rights or law or social subjects. Number two, and that is going on throughout the year. It's not once. We have major 1 month internships in winter and summer, and otherwise throughout the year we have 15 days short internships. That's a major activity, and this is a very popular. We have about 50 to 60 vacancies, but we get 800, 900 applications. So that is number one. Number two is we visit the state governments, not state governments, I would say states, and we have camp sittings. Camp sittings meaning the entire commission led by chairperson, members, and select officers. We go to a state, we take along with us all the cases pending from that state. We sit there for 2 days, listen to the public petitions, including those that are directly concerned with the complaints we have received, and dispose them of there itself, many of them. and in many instances, state government, has to come forward to give their statement of compliances, etc. During that time, we also interact with civil society organizations, media, and all other heads of departments of government bodies, secretaries particularly, chiefs of public sector, this thing, mental health organizations, their chiefs. So we try to engage them as much as possible. One is to seek information, but the other is also to make them aware of their own responsibility in their role in promoting human rights in general. So that has been found to be very useful, because state governments are, in many states are not aware that NHRCs can give so much of relief, and anybody can approach NHRC. There are no fees, no lawyer. It is just you have to log in on the portal or send an email or send a letter, and we take cognizance. It's not like police station where FIRs are not registered. In our place, registration is almost automatic, 99.99%. We are also translators. You'll be surprised to know that who translate letters from regional languages into English and Hindi if necessary. That is number 3. Is we also collaborate with universities and research institutions on research projects. Annually, there are 15 to 20 research projects are selected. There is a separate budget head for that, and this is a regular activity. One more activity, very little known but quite popular among youngsters, is our human rights film competition, short film competition. It's about 12-minute films that we invite, and we have fairly good prizes, awards. Award value is about rupees 2 lakh for the first film, and amazing talent we get to see. And these are then, of course, all of them are available on NHRC website, and people can freely show them, because the copyright is with NHRC, and that copyright is made available free to the public. So these are the also members as well as chairperson, secretary general. We go out to the universities to give lectures, but to address students on and faculty also on human rights issues. We accept invitations from cultural organizations, social organizations, academic institutions to go and address them on human rights areas. So it's fairly strong. We can do better. There's always a scope, to do better, because people need to be aware that there is an institution in India where, when you all resorts, your ways are exhausted, as a last resort, you can come to NHRC, and most likely,
even after the courts, you mean?
If there is a human rights angle which has not been addressed by the court, then they can come to us.
Okay.
Supposing there is, I'm taking an imaginary case, but this can happen in reality. If there is a rape case and the convicted person, the person is convicted and he's got his sentence, etc. But if there is, for some reason, the victim has not got compensation, then the victim can come to us. And through us, we will ensure that the state will pay her the compensation. There are Nirbhaya Fund and other schemes are there, especially for that purpose. And state is supposed to act, instantly when such crimes are brought to its notice. So we do that. We can do that technically. Yes.
Okay. Somehow, I just get a feeling that you know better. Is it parallel kind of working with the courts, or you will say, no, it's not that way?
Never. We are interested to do whatever it is necessary to do to protect human rights, promote human rights awareness, and also create preventive mechanisms if necessary.
Okay.
See, for example, during COVID, NHRC issued 21 advisories, ranging from education to health services, to migrant laborers, to midday meals. We think that rather than sitting idle during COVID, we should work because many gaping holes were visible. And NHRC has the moral right and legal right to sort of tell the state governments and the central governments where more is needed, required in terms of looking after our citizens. And we did that quite diligently.
Okay.
It's never adequate, but we must keep on trying.
That means what I decipher is that NHRC does have teeth. And can you tell us, Dr. Mulay, some cases that you remember where NHRC has affected lives and judgment for that matter?
Well, I can actually quote you a number of cases, but recent one, what we have done or doing, I will tell you. Generally, when we think of human rights, we never think of truck drivers and their rights. NHRC has taken up this issue, created a policy paper, and has asked government, after consulting with various stakeholders, asked the government to take number of precautions for giving them adequate rest, creating toilet facilities at certain distances, ensuring that they all are insured and things like that. This is something that everybody seems to have forgotten. But NHRC did it as an institutional level. And we did not do because we got some complaints. But we thought that what are the vulnerable groups which we have not touched so far? And that's how we have done this. Other examples I would like to give you that NHRC has done extensive work in the last 1 year on mental health institutions and the treatment being met to the inmates. And the picture is quite disturbing. There are people who have become healthy, but they have not been released to their families. Families have sometimes refused to take them even after they are cured. They have been brought. So we have issued a number of directions because we realized after visiting a few institutions in Agra, in Gwalior, in Ranchi, and other places. Our survey is for all the mental health institutions in the country, but we particularly visited certain places and found that hundreds of people are just there after getting cured, and many of them have been released. Even though some families have refused, we have asked the state government to create a kind of a halfway home. Give them shelter, give them food, and maybe train them in some skills so that they can be useful to the society. So this is the other one. I'll tell you another one. Very interesting case came to us. You're talking about the inter se relationship between court, executive, and NHRC. There was test for teachers as per the new right to education policy. Teachers had to qualify a particular exam, and lakhs and lakhs of teachers took that exam, even including those who were already employed. So it was realized that most people got their jobs, but about 2 lakh plus teachers did not get their letters of appointment. The reason was they were told that either in 10th or 12th, they have not got more than 50% marks. Okay, they went to Ministry of Education. Actually, nobody met them. Nobody entertained. Their representations were not answered. They also tried to go to the court, where the case was dismissed. As a last resort, they came to us. And lo and behold, we tried to go to the roots of their complaint. When we realized that more than 2 lakh teachers are involved, and their jobs, their families' future is involved, we tried to go and we asked them the basic criteria at the time of announcing that examination, of taking up the exam. And we found that criteria regarding 50% marks did not exist. So taking a kind of a cue from that, we wrote to the authorities. Initially, there was a little hesitation in giving us information, but we prevailed, and ultimately they accepted the fact that it has happened like this and they shouldn't have been, and they got their jobs appointment letters. So 2 lakh people in just one simple case, we have kind of restored their jobs. They were their jobs, but we were able to, I know this case very well because it came to me and I had the privilege. So similar cases, somebody in Safdarjung had died in 80s. His service record, his wife's name was not there. I think he had some disturbance, health issues and disturbance, mental issues, perhaps mental health issues also. But his wife was staying in somewhere in the Uttarakhand. So she had written to us, and then we checked. They said her name is not there in the service book. We asked for records. Records were not available because it was a very old case, several years after the person had died. And but we went further searching. It was found that the wife was genuine. She was obviously widow, and because of ignorance, whatever it is, it was not brought to this thing. Then we again took up with various authorities. It went to health ministry. A lot of up and down of here and there, files moving. Ultimately, that lady not only got all the arrears, she's now getting a regular pension of 9,000 rupees.
Okay.
So these are small but very effective, and for that family, it's a life-changing relief.
Yeah.
We are very much at the forefront of helping out people. It's not, of course, the task is gigantic, and I don't claim every person who comes to us, we're able to, for a variety of reasons, we may not be able to give relief also.
But it's interesting to know that even things like employment of teachers also comes into the ambit of human rights sometime or the other, is it?
Generally, contractual matters are not coming to us because there are separate codes for that. For example, if the business company and firm, harassment perhaps can come to us.
Yeah.
But not, those related to salary and other things.
Yeah.
There are different agencies for that. There are labor commissioners. There are other commissioners who are looking after this. But when we see something which is large-scale human right issue, like in this case, 2 lakh teachers,
okay,
then it's worthwhile to address it from that. It's a right to livelihood being missed by these teachers. Right to job. So now, enshrined in the statute.
Let me move into a little different sector. The Armed Forces Special Act provides immunity for prosecution to the security forces, even for serious human rights abuse. Many times, security forces violate India's international obligations too. So, how does NHRC, does it navigate through it, or how does it look into it?
That's a good question. This can also apply to paramilitary forces. This can also apply to police also, in a sense. Police I dealt with already. Police atrocities are very much part of NHRC. So far as the paramilitary and the armed forces, we engage because, see, the forces are not under us. We can't issue directions to forces, or the officers or commanding officer, whatever it might be. We can't. And that is both, in the normal course as well as statute doesn't allow us. But we interact, and there are now cells both in Home Ministry as well as in the Defense Ministry to address the issues of human rights. And when we do receive cases, and we do try to send them and persuade Minister of Defense to look at it and give appropriate relief. So this is more in the consultation mode, but generally, this interaction is a regular thing. We also have Chief of Armed Forces coming to NHRC and addressing the interns. So we do have formal channels of communication with Minister of Defense. We also get cases which are not strictly defense related. For example, armed forces or members of paramilitary forces committing atrocities on some rural women in the area where they are serving, including rape, including sometimes murder after committing rape. So these cases come, and we have been able to persuade Ministry of Home Affairs, to give them compensation. So it's not that they're completely outside the purview. Only thing is, we are very careful not to breach the line of hierarchy, because these are armed forces, and reality is known better to Defense Ministry and Home Ministry in the case of paramilitary forces.
Okay. Another question is, we hear a lot about human rights activists. Many times they're not too justified also. So when I remember in the Nirbhaya case, there was this juvenile who was also involved. And there was a lot of activism on the juvenile getting punishment in the, in keeping him in the juvenile court. And then, they had issues about it. What are your views on this?
No, the human rights defendants, it is not, this particular term has not been defined anywhere. If you are, for example, XYZ citizen wants to take up the cases of violations, over a period of time, that person becomes a champion of the cause of human rights. And we have in the NHRC a human rights defendants core group, meaning many of these people who regularly send us large number of complaints. They are there internationally also. Their freedom of expression, their freedom of lodging the complaints is recognized. If we also have a nodal officer, if the human rights defendant faces any problems from authorities just because he is taking cases of human rights violations, then NHRC does step in and tries to protect the person from any unjust use of law on that person. Activists, as long as they're doing legally allowed activities, NHRC can't really step in. But if they also violate human rights, it does become a cause of complaint for anyone else. Because NHRC's statute provides that anyone can complain about any injustice that is committed anywhere, or the person notices. Even from, we may get many complaints from people who actually read the newspapers and send us cuttings, and we take action. Plus, NHRC takes suo motu actions. Okay. Suo motu cases. We have, in the last few months, about over 100 cases we have taken. Whenever something is there in the newspaper, we take cognizance at our own level, and we also have a spot inquiry facility. We have senior police officers which are on deputation to us, who work under our control, and we can send them to conduct spot inquiry wherever we want. You would recall 2 years back there was a Hyderabad rape case. So we were the first to arrive on the scene, apart from the local police, in terms of to inquire. Jamia Millia, recent disturbances. NHRC was the first one to send spot inquiry to see, because a lot of complaints came from students and others. So it gives us kind of an idea as to what is happening and why it is happening. And if there are any human rights violations, we sort of step in. Often these high profile cases are also taken up by courts. So once the court steps in, we wait till the court's final decision is, and the case is kept pending, because simultaneously we don't proceed, unless there's a reason and which is not really overlapping with the court.
Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Mulay, for giving us so much information about NHRC, which I'm sure many do not know, and this information is still not there in the public domain. To our viewers, if you appreciate our attempt of bringing you people who are newsmakers themselves, do like, subscribe, and comment, and wait for my next celebrity guest here. Thank you for staying with us. Until then, take care, be safe, and thank you so much once again.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.